That is, in my opinion, the best approach to evaluating yourself when it comes to learning an exercise, especially when it comes to small ideas like rudiments. So if you're learning or improving singles, okay, so we start, of course, from the base technique. You work your technique. You really, figure out how to move, how to make the single sound good. That's where everything starts, right? We gotta understand the motions. We must understand which part of your arms you're supposed to be using. All that stuff, technique. So that's why I wrote, and this it uses a very, obviously, a very close or an analogy that is language, which is my favorite way of approaching learning anything when it comes to music. So technique, that's why it says practice your diction, right? Your ability to execute things in a way that others can understand. The problem with a lot of unexperienced drummers is that their playing is very sloppy. And the ideas are not necessarily bad, but the diction is poor. They can't say things in. It's one of those people that if they were talking to you, you'd be like, huh? Right? It happens. It happens. Man, I know a lot of people who have such a poor diction and such a poor ability to pronounce words. I'm just like, and it's sometimes foreigners, but not necessarily like. And I'm gonna say this, and I hope this is a safe space so I can say whatever I want, because now we're the safe spaces. But usually uneducated people
Yeah, yeah, I
have
know people like that.
quite poor diction skills. Huh? But there's something to that, to what I just said. Uneducated people. Exactly. Uneducated drummers tend to suffer from the same problem. They can't really pronounce their ideas correctly. The ideas are fine, they understand the words, but they can't really say them, which means no one understands what they are trying to say. So that's the base of our pyramid. We need to sort out technical, and usually that's technique, as it is with speech, actual oral speech. Usually people don't actually know how to say the word, physically speaking. Like the muscles of their mouths don't really move correctly. So they slur or, right, whatever. Whatever it might be that is affecting their pronunciation of words. Cool. Then, once you can grade yourself with a 7 out of 10 or more, we level up. Why 7? Because I don't think that it's necessary to go for a 10 to be in order to start exploring ideas, but I also don't advise to start exploring ideas when your technique is still below a 7. Right? Because otherwise those ideas will be even more sloppy. So it's going to become a snowball of sloppiness. Once you are very comfortable with the technique for a specific exercise, you go up. And vocabulary means, obviously, words. And in drumming, that means small ideas that have a meaning. For example, you're working on your singles, cool. So maybe you can start working on orchestration, moving those singles around. But we look at them as words, so it's not like we're just making noise using singles, but that would be kind of gibberish. You're using sounds, but you're not really saying anything. In this case, I would do what? Organize my practice. All right, so I'm going to practice only, and that's the other sheet will help you with that, and I'll show you in a minute. But you would organize like just moving up and down, for example. That would be one word. Or it sounds easy, but in the beginning, this is a challenge to keep those phrases clean, right? To not compromise technique just because you're learning a new word. All right, cool. The other thing that you can also do to develop vocabulary is dynamics. To add accents, louder notes, softer notes. That's also part of developing words. Cool. Once you can give yourself a 7 out of 10, you go up. Phrasing. So these are sentences. You're going to use more than one word in an exercise. So for example, if you have two words, one is this, the other one is this. These are two different words. In phrasing, you would combine them. Right, that would be an example of phrasing. Also, to start to create context. In other words, maybe alternate that with a bar groove. Right? That would be phrasing. Now, speech, which is the ability, as I wrote there, the ability to speak freely and in context, because I can know all the words in the world. See, here's the other thing about speech. Because I can know literally all the words in the world. I can. Maybe I have like a super photographic memory. I opened the dictionary and I just read all the words and boom, I got them. But if I don't use them correctly, what's the point? Like you're talking to me about, did you see the football match? I don't watch football. But anyway, did you see the football match, blah, blah, blah? You're talking about football. And I'm like, lettuce. And you're like, okay. Yeah, again, the football. You try to bring back the something like, lettuce. And you're like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, nothing, I just like the word lettuce and I said it. I'm crazy if I do that, right? I'm officially nuts. But do I know the word lettuce? Sure. I just said it. Does that make any sense? No. Do you get my point? Yeah. So just because you know words, it doesn't make them the right words. Yeah. It might be a good word. It can still be the wrong word. Yeah. So, and that's something that I see a lot in my classes. A lot. Guys playing good fills that are wrong in that context. Like, give you a silly example. If you are playing a ballad, it's just a nice little ballad. I don't know. Love song, right? And then you come out with these like super metal fills. Maybe they're super cool and they are super well played as well. That's the thing about that is so dangerous. Because some people get convinced that because they are playing it so well, that's gotta be right. And yet, it's a very well pronounced word, but completely out of context. It doesn't make any sense. Going back to the example of lettuce. I'm saying that word correctly. You understand what I'm saying, right? When I say lettuce, you see the vegetable. But what's that to do with football? That's it. So when we go up this pyramid during your practice, always ask yourself, am I doing that, or am I just practicing outside the pyramid, like, bless you, just jamming, right? Because if you are just jamming, that's often not practice, because it leads to nowhere. And speech is also the one, and this is where it really becomes dangerous to not follow some sort of structure, because speech is the one that you don't really practice. Speech is the result of the bottom three. So if you work your technique, you work your vocabulary, and then you combine those words into phrases, speech will just happen organically. Will just happen. So there you go.